create plasma weapons, or it can insert into your consciousness scalar waves that are called molecular spin resonance waves that can alter your behavior pattern, make you panic, or make you believe things that are not your own. But then as you continue to be, quote, mind tenderized, you believe that those thoughts are yours, just like if you watch high-definition TV. This is high-definition battle ramming right against your consciousness and your frontal lobes. Absolutely. And we have to get angry, but a righteous anger. Not an angry of, let's shoot them up. Let's become spirit men and women, because when we just wake up, the evil, the militarization, the crushing of the population will disappear like a vapor in the morning. It's the waking, and I'll show this procedure. Spirituality advancing beyond religions, and I do mean advancing. Religion is a toxic poison on this earth without spirituality. I call it, and yesterday I went out and had an interesting discussion. It turned out one of these supernatural things. I wanted to go with my son Matthew, who's here, to the New Ganges restaurant in San Francisco, because his girlfriend was born there. We went out, down to the restaurant. Turned out, supernaturally, our limo driver, his name was Bomi, was Indian. And he had Indian food that was, you know, we call American Indian food, which really isn't Indian. But we traveled down to San Francisco, and we had the most amazing experience. And I shared with him the whole idea of how the ancient cultures in India have known about the blue people in North India that come from the underworld, about the Vimana, the Upanishads, and so on. And we sat down and had a dinner, and what I told him was this: the problem is that we don't realize that we are spirits having an experience in this plane of existence first, and that we don't need a mediator, me or anyone else. You don't need a leader, a pastor. What you need is you to connect with, just like a toaster connecting with the wall so you can make toast, you need to connect with the source, with the Most High God, and that every breath, every thought, every intent of your heart has to be the prayer. Has to be. That's how this world will be saved. What about a worldview of a populated cosmos where there's tens of millions of civilizations? What about a world where you don't worry about how you're going to retire at 60, but you wonder what you'll do with your great-grandchildren and your great-great-grandchildren at 160? What kind of world when you can travel and accumulate wealth where you actually own things and have title absolute? What about if you can eliminate genetic disease but don't create hybrids humans, so you create animal-human monstrosities, or literally the supermen, the ubermensches of the future, where cybernetic and electro-technologies and nanotech convert humanity into a monstrosity like many of the superhero movies, where human beings become the Model Ts in the dying world? What about space-time technologies when the idea of space and time dissolves like a vapor? And we don't just have seers, we have people that know that the past, present, and future have always been. We transform our worldview. Prophecy is an optimized pathway, the power of the free will. And what is free will? Just like when Michael was talking about free will, first off, most people have never had a conscious thought at a higher level in their entire life. They're born, they breathe, they have a heartbeat, they die. And the problem is they assume somehow there is either a good or a bad place to go. And I have bad news for them. The place of those who are unregenerate, who don't connect to source, is annihilation. It is not an eternal hell. God doesn't cast you with whatever religion or lack of it. You just cease to exist because you haven't existed in the first place. Heaven and hell start today, not at the moment of your death. They start today when you decide you will not compromise with evil, you will not bend to manipulation, you will not curse those who harm you, just as Jesus said, pray for your enemies because it brings closure. Pray for this person who assumes to be our leader and our president, that he may try to be like John F. Kennedy. As you can see, a spirit wrestling between Soros, his puppet master, and his desire to be a real live president. Pray for the people of these other nations that we have crushed and destroyed and salted their land with depleted uranium. Pray for children who are being poisoned with toxic vaccines and fluoridated water, to cut off the cord of living waters between their spirit and their physical mind so that they become the living dead with no spiritual life, because they are just literally the undead. There's no spark or life in their eyes. Their spirit is gone because the connection to the pineal gland and the basal nuclei that connects literally their spirit or their mind and their physical body is gone. Well, Moses placed the 6 tribes in Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, the Mount of Blessings and the Mount of Cursings. It's not my decision to change you. I'm not even going to have any guilt over what the people do. I've been taken 3 times before the Council of the Eshkatan, and I can tell you I will soon go the 4th. And they told me that the destiny of mankind is not fixed in stone. The future is liquid, not solid. It's your decisions today and those who listen, not to elect the right politicians, but to elect the right you. Be the best you can be. Connect with the Spirit and start to really use your intellect and really use your spirit to manifest a reality that you want to co-create with our Creator God. And by the way, none of the beings in the advanced worlds, millions and trillions of years from now, have any misgivings about whether or not there's a Creator. There's no such thing as atheism in the future. Every being knows that they have a spirit and they're living in this sentient world. No matter how bizarre they look or appear, or whether they're energy beings, they all know they are our brothers and sisters and sons and daughters of the Most High. And think of this as a traffic cop. I'm saying, stop, don't go this way, but go that way. That's part of my role, to give you, connect the dots so you can not only see the manipulation that the media are using, because really when you look at the ad men, have you ever seen this movie or miniseries on TV called Mad Men? Yeah, well, it's a great series. But all the lettered agencies, all the tell of vision, they're telling a vision, are all ad men. So when the CIA uses weapon systems to make sure they kill the people who are putting alternate crops into the market instead of their crop of dope to poison your kids, and then they also own the prisons through the CIA owning the American police force and owning Z or Blackwater Security, realize they're just admin. They're just advertising to you, and they want to sell you the idea that your escape from the pointlessness of reality is to become drugged in alcohol, drugs, sex, or intellectual foolishness so that you won't become the being you should be, and you'll see our world die. And we are living in a dying world. The oceans, even if you're just the barrel-headed scientist, you can tell that the oceans will be dead at the current rate of pollution in 20 years if nothing happens to earth changes. So look at this, the ancient archetypes of the ages, whether it's Moses and Joshua or any of the ancient civilizations, the spiritual leaders led above the warrior kings. And the reason is, without a vision, as it says in the Bible, my people perish. Every people perishes. Excuse me for this. So, without a vision, my people perish. This is how bad it gets, is that people don't understand that religion without a spiritual connection. And that's why Jesus was the great iconoclast. He's a perfect example. He'd heal people on the Sabbath. He said, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And Daniel said, close up and seal the words of the book to the time of the end. Well, guess what? Just like when you take your kids on a trip, yes, we're there yet. We're there. Mankind has been quarantined since the last fall, and if you read the prophecies of the Hopis or many of the intuitives around the world, again, all these people see little fragments and pieces, like little pieces of pictures that were chopped up and thrown out of the back of an aircraft, and they picked up a piece and said, I think I know what happened. I got this little piece of the photograph in their vision, their dream, or an ancient hope and prophecy. Man has fallen 4 times through ages by the same beings, by the same processes, by the same manipulation, and this is the 5th time. This is the last time. This time, mankind, no matter what technology we think we'll have to protect us from the earth changes, no matter what kind of politicians we have, we will not escape without a transformation of the heart of man. This is the call to repentance today. I blow today the trumpet of Elijah. It was said in the book of Malachi, that I shall send the spirit of Elijah before the great and terrible day, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. And that's what we're dealing with. And it doesn't matter what religion you come from, everyone will know in his heart when I speak this, whether you're a Hopi Indian, or you're Mi'kmaq, or you're an Indian Swami. For all religions, they know this is the end of the age. This is the end. This is the end of the age of Pisces. This is the start of the age of Aquarius. And I'm going to show you scientific and technical that will not assault your intellect, and you'll understand That's when we heard presentations by Dr. Len Horowitz. He talks about love is the way. Love is the for-give. God forgave even though he knew what we would be. And even the fall of one of his great ones, Lucifer, he forgave and created the universe with all its pain and suffering and ignorance. And of course, ignorance is the source, as the Buddha says, of all evil, as well as the Gospel of Philip. A cosmic plane of mankind. Imagine a mankind, just think of this as a thought experiment, traveling at faster than light speed across the cosmos, yet genetically modified to live in these different worlds, invading and destroying, much like the movie Avatar. And most people at the end, even if you're in the military, your stomach was turned at the people in the military just trying to wreck and trash this giant tree and these people. Now, it's manipulation, it's marketing, and of course it's always trying to get you back to the idea you have to buy the lie of the carbon. I call it the carbon death unit, because carbon dioxide as an anthropogenic gas causing global warming is a myth. It is a lie. I was an oceanographer, bacteriologist before I went into medicine 37 years ago. I can tell you it is a bold-faced lie. And I'm going to show evidence for that from scientists that just presented as little as a week and a half ago in Chicago. So many worlds have fallen to this dark empire. Just like we talked about Darth Vader in Star Wars, we have literally been in many Star Wars. We're the remnants of an ancient culture that died. Invasion of mankind, for example, if you look at a group called the Gorgons, they are the chief among these. In the Bible it talks about them as and they have 7 different names, and I'm not going to use them all. The Anakim, the Zamzumim, 200 that landed on Mount Hermon, the name was Semyaze, the chief among them. These are very advanced beings, and we should call them transdimensionals because although they exist in the physical realm, they can combine their genetics with humans. They gave the advanced technologies of agronomics, economics, metallurgy, agriculture, science, and astronomy. Look at the mitre of the Pope. It is a symbol of the fish god Onanes, which is the same as the Dagon god, the god of the Philistines, that fell before the Ark of the Covenant. You'll see it is the same as the Naga, or in South Africa, the Chitahuri of the priests there. All these peoples know this truth. Africa, Oceania, Mesoamerica, Europe, China, you know, whether it's Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan. And look at this giant Sumerian Nephilim, we call it, the fallen ones. Look at proof of previous transformation times where things didn't work. We didn't pass the exam as a civilization. Underground cities and tunnels. In fact, one of the people I took care of, John Fiala, was one of the cohorts with our other people that worked on these tunneling machines. Personally took care of him. He said he broke through one tunneling system down in the Baja California. When they did rock analysis, the tunnels were estimated to be between 300 and 500,000 years old. Artifacts on the moon and Mars. Did you know they even colorized this Martian sky? So when they're not having a sandstorm, did you know if you're on the surface of Mars, the sky is blue? That's a proper of optics. The sky will be blue there. Nuclei of obsidian glass in northwest India, 200 cities below the oceans, because things like the fall of Atlantis that we think is a myth, written by the Greek historians, is not a myth. It's a historical fact. We've been doing all these specials off. You can even go and watch 3D movies now. All the religious books talk about the gods from the sky, the vehicles, the angels, the messengers. This is one of the tunnel boring machines. And these are, of course, the more simple ones, the ones that have the rotating blades. The more advanced ones have these high compression lasers that hit the rock face and blow the debris at sidewalls at 10,000 degrees and make a 0-degree tunnel and lay an inner core, vacuum it out and put hyperspeed fiber optics using ultraviolet fiber optics. And these are crisscrossing America. This is just one chart, and I know about all kinds more than this. What we call DUM 1, or Deep Underground Military Base 1. And this is why Gary McKinnon, and he, by the way, didn't really hack. He's not a really expert hacker. He got into a naval computer. And by the way, all of our off-world space fleets have got naval designations, you know, like Admiral, whatever. And there is a division, by the way, of the SS, because in the secret treaty of Fort Hunt, they did not surrender to the United States. They became grafted into the CIA through the OSS, DARPA, and all these agencies, all of our mind control projects, all of our space flight projects, all of our plasma engines, and the ramjet, and NASA itself was created from Nazi science. And we collaborated with the Russians right through the Cold War. The Cold War was for public consumption, including the fall of the wall. human genetics.